For the first time in our history, an Aussie federal public servant will pocket a $1 million salary. It's part of a massive pay rise for our pollies right across the board. So, are they really worth it?
You can get it extending coal or falling in the polls. A hard-earned Canberra gig needs a big old allowance. Matter of fact, I've got it now.
Yes, those in the capital are getting an increase in capital, with new raises announced for Parliament's bigwigs. Anthony Albanese's salary will jump from about $587,000 a year to more than $607,000. Peter Dutton's wages will go from about $417,000 to $432,000. And your Dorothy Dixer asking backbencher will pocket an extra $8,000. But the biggest payday goes not to a polly, but to a public servant, with Glyn Davis, head of the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet, cracking the $1 million ceiling, which explains this recent spread in Public Servant Digest.
Does he deserve it?
Not really.
Seems fairly excessive to me.
Yep, everyone thinks it's too high.
I don't think it's too high.
Almost everyone thinks it's too high.
So $1 million sounds like a lot of money, and it is, but we are talking about the guy who is heading up arguably the most important department in Canberra, and were he to go into the private sector, he'd probably be paying even more for that sort of position.
And while it's fun to scoff at pollies giving themselves and their mates extra money, it's not actually Parliament, but an independent remuneration tribunal that makes the call, as the PM explained today.
I have no role in any of these processes, and that's as it should be.
Sorry, that's not today. That's from back in August, when MPs got their last raise.
Where is these massive amounts of money coming from?
Look, there's an expression, if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. Paying a high salary doesn't guarantee that you get the right job, but if you pay too little, you can guarantee you'll get the wrong person.
The tribunal today released a statement pointing out since 2015, the raises they have awarded amount to about 18%, well below the 24.4 generally seen in the public and private sectors, which should make everyone feel so much better.
Just probably keep it on the down low because everyone else is struggling at the moment.
We are live from the lands of the Cooler Nation. I don't know if she earns $1 million, but she's told me to tell you that she sure does look it. It's Kate Langbrook.
Look at keep the change.
That's so interesting, isn't it? I love that it's an independent board. We can't do anything about it. It's an independent board. And it's just like, who appoints the independent board and where do they all come from?
Aren't they public servants working
No, they're
on the
people.
independent
They're like
board?
academics and people who have sat on a lot of corporate boards and things like that. And they don't just decide politicians, so they decide like what judges in our courts get paid and things like that.
Do you know, I think that people don't necessarily think that the wages are disproportionate. It's just that, you know, pay peanuts and you get monkeys thinking doesn't really seem to apply in particular to the politicians. And I think that's what angers people.
Yeah, and the optics of it during a cost of living crisis when people are doing so much to tighten their belts, it just doesn't look
Well, remember
good.
during COVID when everyone was frozen except the politicians?
Yeah.
Like it's just...
Yeah, but to be fair, they were also throwing a lot of money at people who were getting a lot of money for not doing work at the same time, right?
They could have done a Donald Trump.
Well, taken $1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're servants. Servants shouldn't work. You know what? It's because they need to rebrand.
Right.
That's like my mum always used to have this joke, like when she'd go into Medicare or whatever, and she'd go, "Are you a public servant?" And they'd go, "Oh, yes." And she'd go, "Get me a glass of water."
That's good mum gear. That's great.
They didn't always think it was funny,
I'm sure they
but it
didn't.
was.